Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What If the Regions of the World Fought Each Other? Yes, this is what we have as our new map. It's very interesting. We're going to get into it today. This is obviously going to be the last part. But the main reason why, just like the other mini series we did the other day, why it's taking so long is because we had to do. I went through all the dividing every country, and that takes time, right? In the last episode, we just did. We saw the elimination of the Central African team, the Sahel team, the Caribbean and Central American team, the Balkan team, the Central Asian team, the Caucasus team, the North Asian team. And we are going to see a few more eliminations today. Well, we're going to see all the eliminations. And once we get down to the final three, it'll be quite interesting to see here, though. Anyway, we see the Indians, the South Asians managed to capture the rest of Java, and the Australians do make a push through, but then they get completely wiped out. However, they don't go any further, the Indians, except just putting in naval naval warships to prevent any attacks, because they're focused on other things, especially landing in Borneo, and the trained Indian jungle forces are able to move through here, capturing all of this territory before the Chinese can capture the rest of it. Chinese forces now advance and make a huge push, and they completely capture the north of Vietnam. From here, Laos is able to fall. They move into the rest of Thailand here, and they move down the peninsula into northern Cambodia. Few naval invasions, and now they have complete control over Vietnam, and the rest of Thailand falls to South Asian forces. South Asian forces actually make an advance first, trying to get as much land as they can, but Chinese forces are able to slow them down before we ultimately see more reinforcements. So yes, another country has been eliminated. We have another one coming very soon. Just you wait. Now, as we see Chinese forces advance through here into Russia, Russia is going to have to pull more and more forces away from other fronts. And we even see the Finnish manage to kick them out entirely. So do the Central Europeans, who are able to kick out most of Russian forces. And they now start their own advance into Russian occupied lands, or Eastern European occupied lands, and Western Ukraine and Western Belarus, and the Baltics, which goes pretty well. Yeah. Awesome. Now, we see American forces prepare for one of the largest military invasions in the world, of course, which is going to be a naval landing in the northern South America. Their forces build up across all of the Caribbean islands, and together with Canada and Mexico, they launched their invasion from the Haiti, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Huge naval barrages leave from all of these guys. Aircraft carriers surround here with most of the American 3 or 4 aircraft carriers going boom, boom, boom. They probably have an aircraft carrier over here around Brazil with a bunch of warships. And they probably have an aircraft carrier as well in this vicinity here. 1 or 2, I'd say. And they probably have 1 or 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of Greenland and Iceland, just to ensure it's defended. Oh, maybe Canada is an aircraft carrier as well, but or Mexico. But yeah, and they make their landing here in this little weird peninsula thing, and they make another one here. They're able to capture all of Aruba and any gains they had in the Caribbean have been immediately reversed. Trinidad has gone to another advance, And one of the biggest American forces now moves into here. This is multiple hundreds of thousands, and they now move around and they quickly surround and capture Caracas. From here, Venezuela is not going to survive much longer, as these two fronts join together to make one large one. Mexican, this is mainly going to be Mexican forces now. Why was I using the wrong one? I don't know. They're able to capture all of this, and they completely kick them out from the Darien Gap, because once again, the Darien Gap doesn't exist in this video. It's just a normal bit of land, and there is a road there. Shush in the comments. And now American forces have a pretty good job moving into northern Colombia, as they have set up this one large sweeping front with millions of North American soldiers here. America knows this would take too long with just one advance, so they've sent another huge few million troops around here with multiple aircraft carriers along here, and they make their naval landing right here in Brazil. Brazil was not expecting this, and sheer amount of troops here is able to capture all of these northern cities like Fortaleza, Natal, Maceió, Salvador. And yeah, they're able to capture this entire region pretty quickly. Yeah, and America also launches their next naval invasion. Oh, wrong color. Into Guyana. This is a smaller naval invasion, but eventually they're able to capture this entire northern coast of South America into one large front here. And they launch one final invasion. This time it's only about 200 to 300k. This has probably got about 5 million American forces from conscription. Then this last one's only about 4 to 500k American forces. This is made up of about 1 million Mexican forces and about 20k Canadian forces as well as recruits from all the other countries. This leaves Mexican ports, goes to the Galapagos, and together they launch an invasion of Ecuador and Peru. This is going to be an important one as well. It opens yet another front for them to face. They move into Iquitos. Ecuador falls. Once they unite the front, Colombia quickly collapses. Whatever remains of the forces up here are forced to pull back. Most of Brazilian forces are forced into the jungles or forced to retreat to protect the mainland, which they weren't expecting. And before that can happen, American forces quickly sweep around and launch a almost entire encirclement of the Brazilian capital, and they capture it pretty quickly. Now, Brazilian and Argentinian forces arrive, and because American forces are exhausted, they're able to push back and actually recapture Brasilia and push American forces back to this city over here. I don't quite know. I think it's Salvador, this one. They also recapture Lima and start to move back up here. But then once fresh American reinforcements arrive, it's not looking too good for them. Especially as the Americans launch one final naval landing as well as Mexico. This one took a lot longer to reach, but Marines are able to capture this major move into Chile and capture the capital of Chile. And now with more and more reinforcements arriving, with air paratroopers arriving now and real troops are arriving as well, they're able to recapture most of Peru, move down the coast here, and move back into Brazil. They quickly recapture Brasilia and move into the most populated regions of Brazil. No, not that quick. Let's try that again. They move into the most populated regions of Brazil, and they push towards the Argentinian-Brazilian border, and they capture this entire region. And from here, Brazil knows they're cooked, so they decide to surrender. And then, I'm sorry, there's not a chance. Without Brazil, that was their only real hope. And I know Argentina's strong, you can say blah, 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 but it's done. Now, America's lost about the North Americans have lost about 1 million forces in total in this entire every single thing they've done, but they've still got multiple millions of troops. And once they consolidate this into their country and start recruiting from here as well with their new gains, now they replenish their army completely and prepare to launch invasions in other continents of the world. Very interesting. And now their American naval forces start to engage Australians over here, and they're going to quickly move into the east of the world as well. Now, yes, another major force has fallen. Who's going to fall now? The Middle Easterns. Yes, that's who we've decided. Russian forces managed to finally break this the front here, and they start to move into northern Iran and Turkey and northeastern Iran. And now the South Asians, once they're holding their long defensive front, free Pakistani forces. No, I mean forces freed. No, unused Pakistani forces as well as Indian and South Asian move into southern Iran and capture the major port Bandar Abbas. And they prepare India with their remaining, because they've still got billions of, like millions and millions and tens of hundreds of thousands, just a lot of spare troops. So they launch an invasion from, and combined with Pakistan, about 3 million, 2 to 3 million troops from Ahmedabad, Karachi, Mumbai, all of these guys. All of these ports together launch one combined naval assault, and it moves towards Oman. A small advance of about 10 to 50,000 troops move into this region of southern Oman here, but the main brunt of the force moves into this region here in Oman. They're able to capture the entire north of the country before it surrenders. They capture Kasab and they move into the UAE, capturing Dubai and Abu Dhabi. They have got okay military, the UAE, with pretty good armed. No, I don't know about the armed forces like tanks and all that, but I know they've got a decent air force because I live here and I can hear the planes going off every day, right? So, yeah. And they're able to capture all of this South Asians. They move in and now they're capturing the remaining cities from Iran. The Middle East is on its crumbling. It's now crumbling. Is crumbling. We see the East Africans make an advance, and surprisingly, they make an advance into Yemen, of all countries, and they start to move into southern Saudi Arabia, and they make a temporary deal. They're like, let's just finish off the Middle East before we throw hands. They're like, yeah, sure. They've got a few of these deals now, but this one is broken off, of course. But the North Africans, no, they probably, if the Europeans come in, they haven't got much left because these guys can come from the north. Here, they've got a lot of fronts. So they decide to launch a quick offensive, and they're able to completely kick out Israel. We're just going to say it now. And they start an advance into Israel and southern Jordan. Israel is able to hold off, however, Jordan and Saudi Arabia aren't as lucky as Egyptian forces start to move into this region. Now, southern European forces and Russian forces are having a brilliant day here, and especially southern Europeans, as they're able to capture, you can't even see where they're going, can you? And now they move into western Turkey after Istanbul's fall. We also see Russian forces move along the Black Sea coast and into central Turkey, and they meet together with southern Europeans in Ankara, and they capture it together. Temporary armistice once again. But yeah, the Middle East is on its crumbling edges. I'd say their capital's either in Riyadh or in Baghdad, but I would say maybe Baghdad because it's quite central. So now Russian forces start to amass on the border, and they launch a swift invasion into northern Iraq, heading towards here. South Asia realizes this, but they want to reach it themselves, so their forces move along the southern coast of Iran and into Iraq, up the Euphrates, and they capture Baghdad. Just like that. It's quite far away, but they do it. And now they move into the rest of Iran. They're able to capture about. I know Iran's strong, but if all of India's forces, as well as extra tens of millions, were mobilized, they're not winning. They're not surviving. They're getting destroyed. And remember, India and Pakistan have nukes together, so they could just do a couple things together. And yet, forces fighting immediately resumes after a short break, as now South Asian forces start to move into Russian occupied lands, Eastern European occupied lands, moving in to capture the rest of Iraq. Moving down here. And, yep, basically skip a few months, they're able to capture all of this land in here. And the Middle East is on their final legs as Medina now falls over to them. The East Africans capture Mecca. The North Africans capture all the Levant and everything. And Southern Europeans and Russians split the rest. Southern Europeans capture Cyprus. And yeah, fighting now resumes on all sides here, and it's going to be a pretty big end. New front here. Now another country eliminated. So now we only have. We're going to do this once again. Power order 1. Sorry, 1 second. 1. Ugh. 1, 2, 3. Who's fourth most powerful? 4, 5, 6th, 7th, 8th. No. Yeah. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. We only have 12 left. So we have eliminated 11. We're going to have a few more in this next part here, as we see the African countries turn on each other. As now the East Africans immediately, well, the Indians are like, okay, our alliance is up. And they kick them out of the Middle East. But India knows they can't afford to open another front just yet. So they do just keep this. Because they now have 1, 2, 3, 4 countries on their border. And they're all huge fronts. So they need to make sure they can flood in the troops here and ensure that they're all right. So East Africa knows they haven't got long left. So they're going to send their forces, most of their forces, to sweep into West Africa. And they do just that. Now capturing all of this land here. And in Jamaica, the northern, the North Africans are able to swiftly kick out all of here. And now they start an advance. They do not capture Cape Verde. And now they move into Guinea, and they're able to capture all of these guys with their far more advanced militaries. And the East Africans move into the rest of Nigeria here. And the South Africans are only able to capture here, as they're working on big plans. They're building up things for an invasion of their own. 3 countries left in Africa. Now, who do we go for next? The North Europeans. The North Americans, after a few months of break, where we even see quite a lot of the armed forces get to go home for a few months before they eventually go back to war and might get killed, which is awesome. Last time they get to see their families. But yeah, so they get to do all that. And then during this time, the North Americans have spent consolidating this, recruiting more troops from South America. developing more weapons, preparing and sending their forces over. And then, of course, American forces, who are American naval forces, who I'd say this is roughly the area with the most concentrations. I'd say St. John's and Halifax as well probably got a lot. It's probably looking something like this. And of course in Florida here. And yeah, they move into Bermuda. Quite a lot of them. Bermuda they've already got, and now they start to make multiple different advances, and the world's watching this like, what is happening? And the biggest advance is towards the southern Europeans, where they quickly surround the Azores, and of course we're going to see the islands captured as well. They also, the southern one here speeds up as well, and now spreads out and captures Cape Verde. These guys move from here and are able to capture Madeira and the Canaries, and yeah, that's what you can imagine basically. As American forces swiftly, North American forces with air superiority as well, move. Even we see planes from the aircraft carriers start to relocate to the airports here, and these passenger airports, because there's airports on every single one of these islands, which is really helpful, as well as in here. They're relocated to recreated into military bases, and the only transport between islands is now by boat. So yeah, military bases, and now planes from aircraft carriers are stationed in the middle here, and planes that can't make the full journey either are getting refueled or are landing in the aircraft carriers or going to Bermuda. So like if you're going from Los Angeles, you're going from the west, you go to Bermuda, land in Bermuda, and then you go again over here. So yeah, mass military build-up in this area. So Bermuda and the central aircraft carriers is a good stop point before they eventually reach over here. And they capture all of these islands at once. And Cape Verde is the same case over here. They also capture the St. Helena, which I think has an airport, which becomes another US military base in the region. Awesome. So North American forces are making a big stride here, and especially they launch a massive offensive to capture Iceland, and the North Europeans are like, alert American forces. And yes, they should be alerted as they now move towards Rockall and the Irish coast, and the North Europeans are like, alert, alert, we're going to get invaded. Yes, you are. As American forces move in and swiftly capture Ireland. Now, the Second Battle of Britain begins. We also see forces, a few Marines, a few hundred to 1,000 Marines captured Svalbard and use this airport as a base of operations to bomb the heck out of Norway's oil reserves. Awesome. And yeah, a few 100,000 forces land in the north of Norway and now start a massive invasion into the Scandinavian peninsula. Another invasion force lands in western Norway, and Europe's like, oh my god, the world's most powerful country is now sweeping through us. This is awesome. And yeah, this is not great. Central Europe is able to capture the rest of this land here in Scandinavia. It's really difficult to tell the difference between these two colors, isn't it? So let's just make this slightly darker. Awesome. Yeah, that's better. That helps. And now the UK is the final country remaining, and both them sorry. Both them and the UK and France prepare for an invasion. The UK's like, oh god, I've got like a few days left in me. And they're on their own. They've got no imports getting blockaded, so they're running out of food. People are starving in the streets. It's really not nice. And now the Faroe Islands and all these guys, the outer islands, are captured, and they land in here and capture the UK's naval base, nuclear base, and they capture all of Scotland, land in Wales, and the French land in Cornwall, and the French are able to capture London, but the Americans move in and swiftly capture the rest of it. And then the French are like, can we have peace? And the Americans are like, I don't know, freedom, freedom, American bombing stuff. And then they capture all of this. They also move in now to capture the Channel Islands. And the world is like, oh my word, they just eliminated that alliance. Oh, I forgot about you, Finland. But does it really matter now though? It's like boom, 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 boom. And now American and Russian direct hostilities begin. Another alliance has been eliminated. Now, guess who's next? Central Europe, yay, fun. Southern European forces build up, and with American and Eastern European forces, they all make some peace treaties and say, once we get rid of these guys, we can all destroy each other. That's fair, right? Yeah, yeah. So and Central Europe's like, hey, why? You're in the middle. Fair enough. So Russian forces re-establish this huge, long front here, recapturing all of this land. Oh wait, this is actually part of them. Okay, I forgot about that. And their forces now move into Hungary pretty quickly after that, and northern Serbia. And they now start advancing to eastern Poland, and Poland, after the intense bombardment, the entire war, knows they haven't got much left in them, especially as we see Western European forces now move into the Southern European forces move into the rear of Germany, and once the main industrial core falls, there's no more military production, there's no more forces being built really, and yeah, goodbye. Goodbye, Central Europe. As now, Big Sam's forces move into northern Germany and capture Berlin themselves, because that's just what they did, right? Move into Czechia and capture Prague as well. And then the rest of this is going to get split up evenly, as the Southern Europeans are able to capture all of this. So they get most of Germany. It's almost like an East Germany split again. And the Eastern Europeans capture all of this. A few days of peace until artillery shells fire, and we have just started another major European war. Well, this is quite an interesting split, isn't it? As now Eastern European forces move into the remaining areas here and in Turkey, where they have a lot of success, and they move through what's it called? Southern European territories, and guess what? They made another alliance with America to basically get rid of them. So America, with millions of their forces stationed in the region, recruits even more from the UK and begins a naval invasion of France, reverse D-Day. And instead of landing in mainland Normandy, they land in southwestern Normandy in Saint-Malo, and they capture major French naval installations as well as Rouen. And now the entire French northern coast is part of them, as well as American forces blitzing through the Benelux and Germany. American forces are doing quite a lot here. But yeah, these guys have had a while. They've only just been building up forces for a few months, waiting for Europe to settle itself down. Most of France ends up falling here, and they fall back to the Pyrenees, where they do hold. But America knows this, so they launch an invasion from their little islands, and now Spain collapses under everything else, under all this pressure from the US. The sheer amount of forces in this region is insane, but the US is able to capture all of it. Crazy, I know. And then the Americans move into this, and this is the last part they capture, and the rest of French, Western European territory goes to the Russians. And now we've got almost an identical Cold War split. But yeah, it's the entire continent of North America, so they're a bit stronger. And yeah, so they do this, and the final thing that they agree together before we fight, let's get rid of North Africa. Yeah, sure. American forces make a landing in Western Sahara from the Canaries. They split it in half. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, American forces are going to capture all of West Africa, and they are starting to get quite exhausted now. But this is mainly just driving in a tank, really. There's nothing else they have to do here. Maybe fire a couple shots at some local resistance, but that's about it. And maybe some, because they're not surviving. The North Africans are not going to fight back that much. We also see the East Africans begin their advance into North African territories, and they move into the south of Libya, and they finally reach the Mediterranean, capturing Tripoli. And yeah, they're able to capture all of this before we see the Eastern Europeans capture the rest of it. And yeah, we're reaching the final stages as the rest of the country, the alliance falls to American forces. Not many countries left, but now we see Chinese, no, East Asian and American forces, American Pacific forces, absolutely divide the rest of this. Chinese forces capture all of mainland Australia, and they capture all of these islands in this first vicinity here, this first island range. However, American forces capture all of the Eastern Pacific as well as New Zealand, as they've got superior naval strength. So then they start pushing the line backwards and backwards and backwards. Oh wait, that should be like this. Okay, so now we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now fighting begins between American and Russian, no, Eastern European forces. American forces are more well equipped, so they are able to get the advantage pretty early on. Moving into Western Poland and into the Balkans, and as well into Finland. However, the advance stays roughly something like this. American forces in Africa also start an invasion of East Africa. And this is where we finally see the South Africans doing something. As after Nigeria is fully captured, their forces begin an utterly insane sweeping campaign through East African territory. They reach they reach Chad, and before they finish off the job, now going through Tanzania. I'd say Addis Ababa is the capital, so they're going to go for this. And we also see Indian forces launching a attack, capturing Ethiopia. These guys are all just going to split it together. American forces capture the rest of this land. North American forces. And the Russian East. Oh, it keeps saying Russian. This is annoying. It is wrong. Okay, so this is what we've got. Now we're in the final top 5. We've got America still at the moment, I'd say, slightly edging it out because they've got Europe, which is going to help them out quite a lot here. I'd say second place is East Asia, and then third place, very close to the top 3. So I'd say if you're ranked first to 100, which means complete world domination, the US has 52%. Yeah, we're going to keep these numbers here, actually, 52%. East Asia has... Oh, wait, that's a complete wrong color, actually. Yeah. Russians have about 8%. The East Asians have about 28%. Indians have about, yeah, you get the point. Now, we have Southeast Indian forces and American forces. Indian forces mainly, though, because they realized they're starting to fall behind. And so they launched most of the invasions into South Africa. And they're able to cut off American forces before ultimately capturing the rest of it. So they've just expanded into Southern Africa now. We're ignoring all the fact that there would be insane amounts of unrest in all these countries. We're just going to say the local people, as soon as they change countries, they're like, oh, I'm a American nationalist. Oh, I'm an Indian nationalist as well. Oh, and I'm a Chinese nationalist. So whenever they change countries, they immediately become pro this country and they want to join the army and all that stuff. So yeah, they're able to capture and recruit loads of territories. They don't have to worry about supply lines because the locals are helping them. We're going to imagine that. Imagine that sort of scenario, right? So yeah, this is our final four: India, America, Russia, and China. Top four strongest countries in the world, I'd say. And yeah, they're gonna face it off. We see American forces sweeping into Eastern Europe, or brackets Russia, and yeah, they do pretty well. Able to completely annihilate all of the European forces here. Moving into the rest of Russia now. And yeah, they're able to capture Moscow before they eventually decide to just take a short break and go defensive for the moment, as of, at the moment, or at for the time being. That's a better word. And yeah, they just hold a solid defensive front here before we see American forces, South Asian forces. Sorry. Moving to the rest of this land here. And yeah. And now we see Chinese forces capturing the rest. They decide for a quick 1 month ceasefire to all warm up, recruit as many troops as they can, build defensive fortifications, and get the soldiers some rest so they don't have to fight all that time. So yeah, this helps a lot with the thing. And yes, we have reached that. So let's have a quick stat look. I'd say America has about 56% of the world. China, India has about 20. No, China has 28%. So that is 44. So that means, and then yeah, I'm gonna say India has 16%. Yeah, but the population wise, it's pretty even between all these guys though. We've all got similar amounts of population, which is why it's not as easy as just a bunch of how much land you have. So yeah, the final war where all of them are gonna go at each other at the same time has begun. We see American forces making the first mark, moving into East Asia through Russia. And yeah, rockets are firing across the whole world. It's insane, the final part of the war. American forces now move into Africa and into the Middle East, capturing Baghdad, and now moving into Iraq, Kuwait, and Iran. Here, we see Chinese forces. We see Indian forces move in to this South Asian region, capturing all of this land here. But we see Chinese forces have more success in Central Asia, moving into Afghanistan and reaching the Caspian Sea, which is quite a big blow for them. The Indians know they're going to have to retreat back So they retreat back to Iran, but they're able to hold the defensive front in the mountains. So yeah, then we also see Chinese forces move into Central Asia here. We see American forces, the Freedom Army, now start an advance into the most of the American Navy is here because Indians aren't really got that good of a navy, so they haven't got to pose much threat. So they're able to swiftly move into Australia, and they're able to capture all of this from East Asia. They also move into Strait of Malacca and they recapture this. I think we know who our clear victor is going to be at this point. The Indian forces are trying their hardest to push back, but they can't. They get completely kicked out here. And now the fact that it's just they're now fighting people that are stronger than them only. Their weaknesses are being shown as Chinese forces and American forces now start to destroy both these guys. And now it's just India on their own as Pakistan falls. And America captures the rest of it. Now the final war begins. American forces move in from Europe. So this is not only just North American forces, it's just the people from all of these countries. This is about 6 billion people. Or about, no, 5 to 6 billion people, yeah. And now Chinese forces move up. The American forces move up into India. They also start a naval landing here in Russia. They start a naval landing in Japan. They capture all of Japan, Taiwan, and they start a major naval landing here in China and in Korea as well. And yes, if you want to know what's going to happen, boom, boom. Yes, we have a victor. America wins. We don't need a peace treaty, but if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.